Welcome to Central Georgia Focus. I'm your host, Caitlin Heck. We remember the man who had a dream, one that continues to ring from one corner of the nation to another. Archive photos from March 23, 1968, just a few of the memories of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he visited Macon. It was right before he was assassinated. Now, Dr. King's words of change were heard at New Zion Baptist Church on Edgewood Avenue, and today we remember not just Dr. King's words, but the movement that he inspired. Our guest today, Pastor Lisa Watson with the Evangelical Ministers Alliance and also the MLK Board in Macon. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Now, talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, your ties to Macon, and to the Evangelical Ministers Alliance.
I'm born and raised here all my life, almost 58 years now. I am a pastor of the Evangelical Liberty Christian Church along with Dr. Mary H. Butler, my co-pastor. And I am a member, as you said, of the MLK Board. And that's a pleasure to serve under the Macon-Bibb MLK Board. And then I am program coordinator for the Evangelical Ministers Alliance, better known as the EMA. And we are the sponsors of the citywide March for Dr. King Day.
And talk a little bit about the EMA, what you all do, and what your purpose is.
Well, the EMA is really like an educational, empowering group of ministers from different churches, different interfaith denominations, all denominations, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, interfaith, interdenominational churches. And it's a group of pastors and ministers from here in Macon and vicinity. And our goal is to really educate and empower the people.
And you sit on the MLK board. Why do you think it's so important to be on that board and to do the work that you all do in Macon-Bibb?
Like the EMA, the MLK board strives to be, as we say, MLK 365. That means to celebrate Dr. King all year long. Most people know us for the celebrations in January because that's when we have most of the celebrations. But all year long, including the day he was assassinated, April the 4th, we do a Drum Major for Justice Award, or we recognize people in the community who continue to serve in the spirit of Dr. King. We have 3 S's that we use for that. They must stop, stoop, and serve in the spirit of Dr. King. So we do that on the day he was assassinated, and then throughout the year we'll do political forums, we'll do seminars and things like that to continue to educate the old as well as the young.
Now, as you said, of course, a lot of people know you for all the events you put on in January. One of the biggest ones, the March. City Macon all comes together for this. Talk a little bit about this year's event.
Well, when the March first started, it only came in from the east and the west. And under my program coordinatorship and my co-pastor, we were program coordinators of the EMA, and we began to bring the March in from the north as well and the south. So coming from 4 recreation centers from 4 points of the city, north, east, west, and south, we spell news. And we come in all at 12 noon to City Hall, where we are greeted by the mayor. But all marches start at 11 a.m. We come from 4 recreation centers. From the north, we come from Booker T. Washington Rec Center. From the east, we come from Rosa Jackson Rec Center. From the west, we come from Frank Johnson, better known as Unionville Recreation Center. And we come from the south from Memorial Gym Recreation Center. And we all march into City Hall. All marches start at 11 and arrive at City Hall simultaneously at noon.
And so before that, we have the Sunday event as well. Of course, the March is the big,
right.
the big event, but Sunday we got stuff too.
Right. Dr. King, he always, before he marched, will have a big church meeting. You know, he was a gospel preacher. He was a Baptist preacher, Baptist minister, Baptist pastor. And so he would bring all the people together the night before they march on a Sunday. And then, you know, they would march after that. So they had a strategy and a plan to educate and empower and motivate and inspire the people to bring about policy and changes. And so that's pretty much how we try to do as well. Have a message, have a strategy, have a plan, a message we want to get out. For example, we start out on January the 1st, and we have the proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation service. And we proclaim freedom. And then we come on to the night before the march, and we declare the dream. That's living the dream in worship service, that Sunday night. And then on that Monday is the motivation for marching. So you have the proclamation, then the declaration, and then the motivation. So in all of it, we are trying to educate and empower the people.
That's an important message too, all of those. Now, I've covered this march before, and seeing people come from all corners.
Oh yeah, it's growing.
It's very powerful.
It's getting big, it's getting bigger, and that's our theme, to get bigger, better, stronger, and younger. Some people have been marching for 40 years plus. This march is just that old. Our organization, the EMA, is 50 plus years old.
Wow.
Yeah, three or four noted older preachers, Pastor E.S. Evans, Pastor Van J. Malone, Pastor Pascal, and Pastor William Randall. They really started the boycott of the buses, and that led to marching in Macon. And so the struggle been being on ever since for rights, civil rights.
Now you all have the service before the march. You have the march, and then there's a service after the march as well?
Right. We climax at this historic Stewart Chapel, AME Church, where Dr. King spoke. And so we'll climax there this year with our keynote speaker being the new pastor there, Dr. Wanda West. And a lot of people know Dr. West. She's a former superintendent, and we're excited to have her be the keynote speaker this year.
Now, what is the overall message you're wanting to send this year with this particular event?
Every year we include the youth, as we were saying earlier. So this year we have some youth that'll be doing mime dancing, as well as we'll have the youth that we always have from MLK Events school and from the Gant preschool. The youth will be there. So there'll be a message tailored for them as well as the adults there.
That's great. It's great to see those younger generations getting involved and really learning about these important messages you all are sharing. Right,
sharing their history, letting them know where they come from, where we've been, and where we're trying to go. And then at the same time celebrating the accomplishment we have made to get where we are.
Now, you've been part of this for a long time. Out of all this that you do every year, what's your favorite part? What's that moment that really just sparks your heart?
My co-pastor and I, Dr. Butler, we lead the march in from Memorial Gym and the South Side. And I'm just always excited to see all of the young people and some of the older familiars who always come every year to march in with us from the South Side. So that's my biggest thing. I'm a captain of the South Side March along with my co-pastor, so that's my biggest part that I enjoy, as well as seeing the youth when they perform at the climax and church service after the march up at Stewart Chapel. That's my biggest takeaway.
Well, there is so much to take away, whether you're part of the services or the march itself. We do need to take a quick break. We have a lot more to talk about. But take a look at this. In the early days of the civil rights movement, community marches like this were definitely not sanctioned by the city. We'll take a look back at the impact these events have today, coming up right after the break. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. Today we are joined by Pastor Lisa Watson, Program Coordinator with the Evangelical Ministers Alliance. And we're talking a lot about the MLK events that are coming up and the importance of these events to the community. When you're planning these events and talking about why it's important to share Dr. King's message, what are you telling people as you're going out and talking to them?
We really want to educate, empower, and equip the generation coming behind us to really understand and know the history, because there was a lot of struggle involved, and we made a lot of great strides, but we have a long way to go and still progressing even more. So we like to try to spend a good bit of time trying to really educate about the past, as well as celebrate what we're doing presently, but trying to push and motivate them to do things like voting, be involved civically, so that we can still continue to make progress.
And you mentioned trying to get that younger generation involved and really get them coordinated.
Motivated, inspired.
How do you do that? How do you get them to be inspired to be part of this movement?
A lot of them, when they hear the quotes of Dr. King, when they hear about his life, and they hear about the struggle, and they see and hear about how much progress we made, starting with the MLK breakfast, because I'm a member of the MLK board. We have MLK breakfast, where students there, they do speeches and things like that of Dr. King, so they can get involved. They can just watch other kids doing it, and it kind of gives them that motivation, that inspiration, as well as the information. So that's a large part of it. And then now we have added, the MLK board has endorsed some parades from the elementary school, MLK school. We'll be having a parade. And so during those kind of events, you get a chance to really get the message that Dr. King had of peace and justice and liberty and loving all humanity. So we try to push that message with the young people.
That has to be really inspiring to see those kids, reiterating those messages of Dr. King.
Of equality and just peace and love for basic humanity.
And as you're talking to these younger generations, what do you tell them about Dr. King's life that they seem to resonate with the most?
a little young black boy, you know, grew up in Georgia. And there was a boy, Georgia boy, named Martin Luther King, son of a preacher. His dad, the son of a preacher, third generation of preachers, Baptist gospel preacher. It went on to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner and to effect so much change in our world. Dr. King, right here from Georgia, little black boy. Yeah, they get inspired by that. They get really inspired by that, to see all that he accomplished in his short life, only 39 years old, when he was gunned down, and he accomplished a lot. So I think they find great inspiration in his life. And what he left behind, a wife, children, you know, and his church family, mom and dad, and then when they read and hear the history of how his mom was assassinated as well. You know, all of that went into the struggle is so much that they don't know unless we share that history with them. And a lot of it now is not taught in schools. So we as ministers in our churches and our community meetings, we have to take the opportunity to teach that history so that it won't be lost.
And why is that so important? Again, just reiterate, of making sure they don't forget that history.
Right, so we don't repeat it. So we don't repeat it, so we continue to progress and not regress as a people, that we'll continue to strive for greater good of the whole community when it comes to liberty, civil liberties, and justice for all people.
And you mentioned for all people, and that's kind of the message when you see the four corners coming in
That's
for that
it.
march. It is
unity,
for all people.
That unity. That was our whole point of coming from each point of the city, to provide that sense of unity, so we realize it's about the better good for the whole, And for a long time, I mean, many years, they just marched from the east and the west. And I thank God for my co-pastor, my co-assistant program coordinator, because we saw the vision of bringing us from all points of the city. And I think that'll grow some more as the years come, because we're planning now to bring in some more marches into the north side from further out. And, you know, just all blend into City Hall. So it's growing. It's really growing, and we're glad about that. The message is getting out to keep our history alive, to educate our youth, and to continue to motivate and inspire us all to be better citizens for equality.
And how incredible to have people, I didn't mean to talk over you, to people who remember the boycotts, who remember those times, but then also the younger generation who's learned about it.
Right, you talked about how it impacts us. I look at my own self, because the man who kept the march and the dream alive here through the EMA for years, the late Pastor Richard Gamage and the late Leroy Reeves, who were leading the East and the West, they brought us in 25 years ago, and now they're both deceased. And Dr. Butler and I and many of the other ministers are carrying on what they taught us, you know, and trying to pass it on to the next generation.
And what is your hopes for not just the MLK events that happen, like I said, around January, but in general, what are your hopes for these events, you know, in the future as these younger generations get more involved? Right.
We have people that aspire to get the award we give out on the 4th, the day he was assassinated. They aspire to be the next drum major when we give out those awards on April the 4th from the community. They aspire to be like Dr. King and be recognized for serving God and serving people and humanity as he did.
And we just wanted to go back a little bit in talking about the younger generation and what they're experiencing now, in contrast to what people were experiencing, you know, back when.
Been a lot of progress made, and we want them to see that, just how far we've come. We don't ride on the back of buses anymore. We have a lot of equal services across the board, a lot of equal opportunities, but there's a lot of more progress still to be made in race relations, you know, as we see them today. And we just want them to see that progress that was made, struggle for it, but yet it was made, how we came through, but yet it was made, and how we can continue to make even more progress. That's why we say it's all about being stronger, bigger, better, and younger.
It's got to be some incredible conversations you've been able to have with some of these youth, and just
absolutely.
seeing kind of that light bulb moment of like, wow, this is really how far.
We have some youth we have right now, one of them with me today, out of school because of injury to a leg, but one of them today been marching since she was old enough to walk, and now she's about to graduate high school. So I see it personally. I've seen it with other families, how we are really getting it out there, and now they love it. and they are teaching it to their schoolmates, classmates. So that's what it's all about, getting that message out. And just that spirit of, like I said, of peace, love for humanity, just basic love for humanity, basic human rights being really respected and honored by all people.
And we're going to take it. We have some video that we've been showing throughout the show, just of some of these marches from obviously long ago, and talk about what you're seeing here versus now what you all are seeing with the marches of today.
Right. I like to tell people today, because we talk more now about MLK parades. I like to remind people Dr. King did not parade. Dr. King marched, and he was always marching for better rights for people. And we need to remember that he was really fighting and marching for causes to make our lives better. So I like to tell the young people that those people that were standing up and boycotting and all of that, and sit-ins, that was a lot of bad things that happened to them during the struggle. People were killed. People were, dogs were sicked on them. Water hoses turned on them. The struggle was not pretty. Even today, some of the struggle is much more subtle, but it's still there. And we have to educate them how to navigate through those kinds of situations and still be seeking peace, be seeking progress.
And still sending those messages that Dr. King
sent of love, peace, and basic humanity and civil rights for all, and justice for all.
We want to quickly show the list of events, because I know there's a lot going on as we go through this next weekend. So again, you have the citywide march on Monday. You're going to have the Four Corners coming in. It's going to be it really is such an interesting sight to see when you see all those people just coming together. It's very, very moving.
That very picture of unity.
Of course, Sunday, you mentioned the service then.
Right, 6 o'clock. That's at 6 o'clock. I think earlier in the day there will be a parade early on that Sunday. There'll be a new parade that started over on the east side, also celebrating the young men that went to the championship there, East Side Out Loud. So we shout them out. There'll be a parade for them 2 to 6, and then that evening at 6 we'll have the normal Living the Dream and worship service. It'll be at the church down on Millerfield Road, 3280 Millerfield Road. That's Unity Baptist, and their pastor, Reverend Edward Dawson, will be the keynote speaker Sunday evening before we march. And it's a short service. We get out by before 8, so that everybody's ready to march in the morning at 11. So Living the Dream and worship Sunday evening, 6 to 8, and then all the marches start at 11, and I think the prayer breakfast down at the Tubman will be at 8. So that whole weekend is busy.
And of course, there's a service as well after the march.
Right. That go up to Stewart Chapel Historic Church and come and hear Dr. Wanda West, the new pastor there at Stewart Chapel. It's a historic church where Dr. King spoke. So just the place itself is history. So we're happy to have everybody come up, and it's usually a packed service up there at the church as we climax the actual MLK Day, his holiday.
I could imagine. And so whether you're part of one of these services or all of them, it's definitely a time to be uplifted and inspired.
And that's what we tell everybody. You might can't make all of them. We know it's a lot of them in January, so you might not make all of them, but try to make 1 or 2. Yeah, that's exactly what we tell people. You might can't make them all.
Well, there's even a lot more than that. So we're going to talk about some of the other events happening coming up right after this short break. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We're talking about all the different ways people can get involved in community activities celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So there's events happening, of course, on Monday. We've talked about Sunday night, Monday after the march, but Saturday everything gets started too. Greenwood Bottom, there's a cleanup there. Talk about the importance of that cleanup event. Yeah,
Greenwood Bottom is getting more active civically, and we're welcoming them, Black culture. They are all a part of that group, along with the new parade that's starting, MLK Day Parade that's starting. This is going to be their inaugural, along with the other one that started last year at MLK School. So all of them are getting much more involved and having cookouts and barbecues, and even last year they had some fireworks for the youth. So it's great. It's really growing. It's growing. It's just growing.
And that is so good to see all these events.
Yeah, a lot of young people are getting involved, and we just welcome all of that young new energy.
There we go. There's all the food truck frenzy. Speaking of young energy.
And if you come to the march, there are going to be food trucks scattered all downtown, all around the church. And it's going to be the cost is going to be very reasonable. The people are giving their services for the day, for MLK Day, so the cost for eating from all those food trucks is going to be very minimal. And there'll be some free stuff at the church as well. So there'll be a lot of food around, a lot of food trucks, downtown and up around the churches, Martin Luther King Day. So we're inviting everybody to come out and enjoy everything.
And speaking of food, there's also a breakfast, a prayer breakfast before the march.
Every year now, the breakfast has been going on for decades. Decades. The breakfast everybody remember when Billy Young started that, and they remember the song. There was a boy, a Georgia boy named Martin Luther King, and everybody looks forward to the breakfast. It's the first start of the day on MLK Day, and this year will be at the Tubman, and they'll have the breakfast ready to go. You can get it to go at 8:30. So everybody starts with the breakfast and then go on to their site that they're going to march in from by 11. And so it's just a festive day all day.
At that breakfast, the choir Community Connected Voices going to be singing. Superior Court Clerk Erica Woodford going to be speaking there. So it's really going to be a great event.
Right. And like I said, just more and more people are getting involved on all. I mean, there's so many facets coming into the march. It's just that day. Holiday, the real holiday is busy, and then the days coming up to it are busy, and then the other parade is happening after that Friday. So, even after MLK Day that Monday, you can come back that Friday to the parade. So it's beginning to be a busy week, like 7-day stretch. Yeah.
That's like the MLK board. You said Dr. King 365.
365 is becoming a stretch in January, though, really.
Nothing wrong with that at all. That's
right.
So
it gets
wonderful.
started on January 1, and I tell people it's going to run just about all of January.
Now, you talk about the day of service, too. It's not just a day about celebrating and eating and good food. It's a day about doing for your community. Right,
community service. A lot of people do community service, like the NAACP. They do some feeding of the homeless during that day. On MLK Day, they'll be serving meals to the homeless. So yeah, there's some people who opt to do the cleanups and serve that way. And some people opt to do the services where they go and educate the kids and get the kids involved. And some older people opt to come and just hear the messages that are spoken by the preachers at the churches. So it's something for everybody, really. It's a little bit for everybody.
And for these day of service events and getting this younger generation involved, how does that inspire them to be part of Dr. King's message?
Well, I tell you, when you talk about the neighborhood cleanups, it gives them pride in where they come from. And that's a big piece. Self-pride, self-dignity, that's a big piece of what Dr. King's message was to all of us. I am somebody, my somebodyness. And so that message that he tried to really give us, I think we got to share that with our children, that they are somebody and that they have something to contribute to the greater of the community, the whole community, as well as for that community to be a blessing to themselves.
A great message for the youth and for adults alike to carry through them.
Right.
Again, a lot of events coming up. We have all the services, the big parade on MLK Day. So thank you for being here and sharing the importance of all these different events with us.
Thank you for having me.
And we are wishing them a great success and continued growth, too. We love to see all the growth that you all have had over recent years.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us for Central Georgia Focus.